In the age of online streaming, it is easier than ever to watch your favorite movies and TV shows. All you have to do is pick a streaming service, pay a monthly fee, and you're ready to watch whatever you want. Before services like Netflix took the world by storm, we had to watch movies on physical discs or formats like VHS. Before those even existed, there were only a few ways to watch your favorite movies. You either had to wait for said movie to be re-released in theaters, or catch it on broadcast TV. With technology evolving over the past few decades, the way we watched movies have also changed. It's still possible to buy movies on Blu-ray or DVD, but the business has seen a lot of struggles over the past 10 years. Watching movies at home has forever changed, for better or for worse. Now, this is by no means to bash streaming services. I happen to use them quite often myself. Some are better than others, but there's definitely a place for them. However, there's just something special about owning a piece of media that you could just put on your shelf. This could also apply to other things such as CDs or books. The point I'm trying to get at is that physical media should still coexist in the world of streaming. In an age where movies are being deleted or removed entirely from something like Netflix or Max, owning physical media is more important than ever. One local chain that has been campaigning for physical media is Central Cinema. It's a small independent theater located here in downtown Knoxville. They specialize in a shared community that does regular screenings of American classics, the newest indie film from A24, or some random B movie that no one has ever heard of. I had the pleasure of interviewing William Mahaffrey, director of Knoxville Horror Fest and programmer here at Central Cinema. He shared his insight not only into the theater itself, but gave his take on the current state of physical media.
Well, so we've been doing the Knoxville Horror Film Fest since 2009. That's kind of how we got started doing exhibition stuff. And over the years, that started out as like a one-night short film festival, and then it grew and grew and grew. And over the years, we started to do events at other places. Like we actually used to do regular screenings at Relics, which is across the street from here. We used to do them at Scruffy City Hall, and then we started doing a series at IAMS. And as the more we did, the more we realized there was actually an appetite for, different types of cinema here, like repertory cinema or independent films that Downtown West might not bring here. So, and then also we kind of recognized that this area was like about to be kind of an up-and-coming area. So we just thought it was a good time to try to open a theater. It's something we always wanted to do. So we started crowdfunding, and that did really well, and then everything just kind of fell into place with this location.
Listen, I love movie theaters. Going to see the latest blockbuster or a new film from A24 is always a big event for me. Even if the movie isn't that good, there is always something to take away when going to the theater. As William pointed out, one of the most unique things about this theater is the different kinds of films they show, those you wouldn't really expect at a local multiplex. This could include repertory cinema or very obscure indie flicks. One thing I pointed out during my first visit was the selection of movies they had in the lobby. You could buy a selection of Blu-rays, DVDs, and even VHS tapes, something you don't see at a Regal or AMC.
Well, we're all, movie fans, and, a lot of our favorite movies we saw on VHS or DVD or Blu-ray. Like, that's how I learned about a lot of movies, because they didn't play classics, and I'm from Johnson City, Tennessee originally, and definitely didn't play them there, and they don't really play them here. So, you got to discover these things however you can. And so I feel like that's kind of part of our background, I guess. And then, I collect Blu-rays, and all of my partners have at some point or still do. And so we thought, we'd like to have that involved in some ways. We'd originally considered possibly doing like rentals or maybe getting like a big Blu-ray selection or something, but that didn't really pan out, especially with the size of our lobby. So we just kind of have what we have in there.
This reminds me of when I was a kid, going to the video store or even the grocery store, browsing the movie selection. Unlike streaming where you could turn off a movie you aren't enjoying, you could easily turn on something else. At these video stores, however, it was either 2 movies or nothing at all. The video store made me appreciate both movies and physical media. It was a great time to be a fan of film. With everything in life, things do change. In 2007, a well-known DVD mailing company decided to go to the streaming route, a decision that would change the way we watch movies at home. Depending on who you ask, it was for better and for worse in some ways.
Well, at the time, it wasn't as easy to put this stuff on your TV. It would be like, that means you're gonna watch it on your computer or like hook your computer up to the TV. So at the time I was like, well, I don't really care. I kept getting I had like the 3 DVD a month plan, and or 3 DVDs out at a time. I think that's how it worked. And I mean, the streaming was just like a bonus at first. But after a while, when you started seeing smart TVs and like you started getting Blu-ray players that had the Netflix app on there, you're like, oh, well, this makes sense. They saw ahead at what was coming. And, so at first it didn't make sense because I don't want to watch something on my computer. And a lot of times I don't want to mess around with plugging my computer, especially back then. Now, obviously much easier, but back then, your computer might not have had an HDMI cable, and, it just seemed like a hassle. So I didn't mess with it at first, really, but, after a while it became clear that that was very smart on their part, and, obviously look at where we are now, so.
There's definitely a lot to like about the streaming model. It's easy to access a wide variety of content, and I wouldn't have discovered some of my favorite films and TV shows if it weren't for this model. It's not perfect, and there is a lot that is holding streaming back from its true potential. The main takeaways are monthly fees, and content that just seems to be removed overnight without much explanation. Because of these setbacks, physical media has seen a bit of a resurgence over the past few years. In November 2023, Christopher Nolan's award-winning film Oppenheimer released on 4K Blu-ray to record-breaking sales, showcasing that people are still willing to purchase movies physically if said movie deserves that purchase. Unfortunately, Best Buy left the physical media business earlier this year. Despite the loss, there are a lot of companies that are willing to pick up the pieces.
I guess people, initially streaming seemed great for so say when HBO Max first came out, all of Warner's stuff, in theory, is on there. Yeah. But then obviously Warner's gone through a lot of changes, and now, they farm that stuff out to other streaming services because they realize the model is not sustainable and they have to make money by, licensing it to Netflix or licensing it to Paramount or something. So in theory, like say you're a DC Comics movie fan, in theory you should be able to have HBO Max and just be able to watch all those movies anytime. But that's not the case because they're trying to make money elsewhere. So, or if you're into, the Marvel movies, I guess it seems like Disney's pretty steady with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if before long they start, taking them off there because they can make more money from Netflix by licensing to them. So I think people are like, when Netflix first came out, there were so many older movies, and now that's not really the case. It's mostly their content, which I think a lot of it's garbage, personally. I agree. It feels very algorithm dictated type stuff, and I'm just not very interested in it. So I think maybe people are realizing well, I can't just watch that movie streaming anywhere like I thought I could, so maybe I should buy the Blu-ray. This is one of my favorite movies, and with Blu-ray costs, like I said, going down, you can get these movies pretty cheap on Amazon and stuff. So it's like, well, why should I have to search or pay $4 to rent it every time? Or why would I want to rent Oppenheimer for $20, $25 streaming where it's not going to look as good, where I could just pay the same or maybe $5 more and get a 4K Blu-ray and it's going to look great anytime. So I think, consumers are wising up at, and I'd say that's probably why. And then, real movie fans, all these boutique labels like Vinegar Syndrome and Severin, all these, and Shout Factory, they've been doing well for years, and movies that you would never think would be on a 4K Blu-ray, shot on video movies from the 80s are coming out like that. And so that business is kind of, not booming, but it's very sustainable because these companies put out, hundreds of releases every year and people are still buying them. So I guess it's probably a combination of consumers getting tired of not being able to access the movies they want, and then the collectors, getting into it even more. Well, I know, Target and Walmart are practically out too. Target barely has anything. Walmart has the most, but they've also decreased. I mean, I think it's, people are going to buy online, but hopefully it would do something like, how our theater works. People can't get this experience anywhere else, so a local place opens up. We had Grindhouse Blu-ray here, and they were great. And his business wasn't doing badly, you know. He just didn't really want to keep up the store part because he makes so much money online. You know, he can just continue to do his online sales, and it's less work for him. So that was kind of his decision in closing the store. But I mean, I think that store did pretty well and probably would have been doing even better if he kept it open and, you know, kind of capitalized on the fact that Target and Best Buy and Walmart aren't really carrying all this stuff because, you know, he kind of focused on more niche stuff like horror and exploitation. You couldn't go in there and buy the new Marvel movie, which I get why he wouldn't want to do that, but you know, maybe if he had, those people who like to go to Best Buy every Tuesday and pick up all the new releases, they can't do that now. Maybe they would have come there. So, you know, maybe another store like that could open up. And I mean, that could be, it could be something like that, like, you know, give people an opportunity like us who, you know, want to create a business of the thing they love, and there's a need for it because you can't buy those things in town anymore.